As time went on, Ember's powers continued to grow stronger. However, he began to notice that he was having a harder time controlling them. His fiery breath became more intense, and it would sometimes ignite small fires in the forest. Ember tried to keep his powers under control, but it was becoming increasingly difficult. One day, while he was on patrol, Ember lost control of his powers completely. His fiery breath burst forth from him, scorching the trees and the ground beneath him. The animals of the forest were terrified. They had never seen Ember like this before. His power was out of control, and it was destroying everything in its path. The more Ember tried to control his powers, the more they seemed to rage out of control. The forest was quickly becoming a blazing inferno, and Ember was at the center of it all. The other animals tried to calm Ember down, but it was no use. He was lost in a fiery frenzy, and he seemed to be growing more powerful by the minute. The forest was in danger of being completely destroyed. The other animals knew that they had to act fast if they were going to save their home. The animals of the forest had heard of the magic circle from an old legend passed down through generations. According to the legend, the magic circle was a powerful tool that could contain even the most out-of-control powers. The animals had never seen the magic circle themselves, but they knew that it was their last hope. They were desperate to save their home from the raging inferno caused by Ember's uncontrolled powers. The animals searched the forest for days, looking for any clues that could lead him to the magic circle. Finally, they stumbled upon an old tome in a hidden corner of the forest. The tome contained detailed instructions on how to draw the magic circle and how to use it to contain powerful forces. The animals quickly set to work, gathering materials and preparing the area to draw the magic circle. They knew that time was running out, and that they had to act fast before the forest was completely destroyed. As they drew the magic circle around Ember, the animals were filled with hope. They believed that the magic circle would contain his powers long enough for them to figure out how to help him. However, when the magic circle began to glow and Ember's powers intensified, their hope turned to despair. Ember's power was now completely out of control. The forest was in ruins, and the other animals were in danger of being consumed by Ember's fiery rage. In the end, there was nothing that they could do. Ember's powers were too great to be contained, and he was destroying everything in his path. The animals of the forest were forced to flee, leaving Ember behind to rage on his own. It was a sad day for the forest, and the animals knew that they would never forget the destruction that Ember had caused. From that day on, the forest was never the same. The animals were forced to find a new home, and they never forgot the lessons that they had learned. They knew that power could be a dangerous thing, and that it was important to use it wisely. They wandered for days until they came across a new forest, far away from Ember's old home. The animals were afraid to settle down in the new forest, but they had no other choice. They had to make a new home, and they had to do it quickly. The new forest was different from the old one. It was darker and more dangerous, with new predators and unfamiliar terrain. The animals had to learn how to survive in this new environment. They banded together, sharing their knowledge and skills to help each other survive. They worked together to build new homes and to find food and water. Despite the challenges, the animals found that they were stronger together. They had learned the hard way that power could be a dangerous thing, and they were determined not to let it consume them. As time passed, the animals began to thrive in their new home. They had learned important lessons about the dangers of power, and they had grown stronger and more resilient as a result. However, they never forgot about Ember and the destruction that he had caused. They knew that power could be a double-edged sword, and that it was important to use it wisely. As for Ember, no one ever found out what became of him. Some say that he still roams the forest, consumed by his own power. Others say that he was consumed by the fire that he had created, and that he no longer exists. The animals of the new forest never forgot about Ember, and they used his story as a cautionary tale. They knew that power could be a dangerous thing, but they also knew that it could be used for good. And so, they lived in harmony, using their powers to protect their new home and to ensure that they never experienced the destruction that Ember had caused again. Leona, the brave lioness, had always admired Ember for his strength and courage. She knew that he was the protector of the forest, and that he had the power to breathe fire. But as time went on, Leona began to notice that Ember's powers were starting to spiral out of control. His fiery breath was becoming more intense, and it was causing small fires to ignite in the forest. Leona knew that something had to be done to help Ember. She decided to set out on a mission to find the magic crystal that could help him control his powers. She searched the forest far and wide, battling fierce beasts and braving treacherous terrain. She knew that the crystal was hidden deep in the heart of the forest, and that it was guarded by a powerful enchantress. After many days of travel, Leona finally arrived at the cave where the enchantress guarded the crystal. Leona approached the enchantress, and explained the dire situation with Ember's uncontrolled powers. The enchantress was reluctant to give up the crystal, as it was one of the most powerful artifacts in the forest. But Leona's determination and the urgency of the situation convinced the enchantress to let her take the crystal. Leona carefully took the crystal in her paws and felt its immense power. She knew that she had to hurry back to the forest to help Ember and save the forest from destruction. As Leona made her way back to the forest with the magic crystal in her possession, she encountered a group of soldiers who were also after the crystal. They were members of a rival animal clan who wanted to use the crystal for their own selfish purposes. Leona knew that she had to protect the crystal and keep it out of their hands. As the soldiers approached, Leona felt a strange sensation within her. Suddenly, she realized that she too had the power to breathe fire. With a powerful burst of flames, Leona sent the soldiers flying backwards. She had never used her fire-breathing ability before, but now she knew that she could use it to defend herself and the magic crystal. The soldiers were stunned by Leona's sudden display of power, but they quickly regrouped and charged towards her. Leona stood her ground, using her powerful claws and teeth to fight off the attackers. The battle was intense, but Leona was determined not to let the soldiers get their hands on the magic crystal. She used her fire-breathing ability to keep them at bay, while also using her physical strength to take down her enemies. In the end, Leona emerged victorious. The soldiers were defeated, and the magic crystal was safe. With the crystal in her possession, Leona hurried back to the forest to help Ember. She knew that time was running out, and that she had to act fast. Upon arriving at the forest, Leona found Ember in a state of complete chaos. His fiery breath was out of control, and the forest was rapidly being consumed by the flames.